Next up in the series of over 100 videos on the Husqvarna Viking Designer Epic 2 is how to do machine applique. So I'm going to take you through all the steps, and I'm actually going to use one of the designs from the Embroidery Essentials online course. So machine applique is great because at any given time you can change the background of the fabric and make the design look totally different with just your color change. Plus, it doesn't take as long to stitch out. Here the fabric is pink, and the only stitching we have is that beautiful satin stitch around the trimmed edge. And appliques are always done in 3 steps: a placement, a tack down, and then an applique satin stitch. Now, Embroidery Essentials online course is a great way to master all the functions of your embroidery machine while learning about 15 different embroidery techniques. And applique shows up because it is a part of our cut work. There is confetti blocks we do, there's shadow work, of course our standard applique, and our tile scene. So it does actually make the project go fairly quickly when we can place fabric. And of course, if bright colors are not your thing and you like a different color palette, your project will finish up looking just as beautiful with the threads and fabrics that you choose. So make sure you check the links below this YouTube video, hop over to that online course, check it out, and see if it's something that you would love to enjoy. You can either load the designs on a USB stick and put it into the side of the machine, or if you have Wi-Fi capabilities in your home, go ahead and connect to your Wi-Fi, set up your MySewNet account, and be able to access all the designs that are right at your fingertips at any given time. And that's actually how I do it here. So here's my Embroidery Essentials course and all the designs that are in it. We're also going to be doing the video of working with the free MySewNet monitor to have it send me a little message when a design color has finished. And then that way, if I wander off or I'm getting something else prepped, that this will message me and let me know when my machine is ready for a color change, or when we've finished, or how much longer it's going to be stitching that color. So this is a great video to also check out, and how to get that downloaded to a device or phone. So I'm looking for my applique design, and I'm going to touch and hold it. I am going to tell the machine I am using my 260 by 200 hoop. Remember, make sure you choose that if you're going to be using a different hoop size than your design would normally fit in. So I'm going to just leave this in the center of my hoop. I've actually hooped up a no-show mesh, kind of like a poly mesh, just one layer, because we're actually going to be quilting this as we do the embroidery. So let's go ahead, touch go, and let the embroidery arm move into position. We're ready to attach the embroidery hoop and touch the confirmation for it to detect that that hoop is ready. Before we totally get started, let me show you a couple tricks around this screen here. Number one, if you like the color steps on screen, kind of off to the side, go ahead and leave them there, but your design is sometimes halfway covered up. So remember, you can actually move this design so you can actually see it. You can zoom in or zoom out however you want. So sometimes I've been known to just kind of position my hoop kind of right here off to the side while I can keep an eye on my colors. And I've actually just noticed that my device is now loaded because I've touched go, and it recognizes what step I'm on, and it will count down with me. So if you're used to having this in your pocket, that's an awesome app. Again, it's a free app that is available for machines with the Wi-Fi capability. So I love that. The other thing I want to show you is right now we are seeing this design kind of just all the colors at once. So if you haven't already, go ahead and touch the flower, the second white bubble on the lower part of the color block list, and what it's going to do is then just highlight the color that it's going to stitch. Then it's going to turn everything else gray, so at a glance I can see really quick that the first quick stitch, which is blue, is the square around the entire design. Now, in our Embroidery Essentials course, we do take you step by step through all these techniques. So I'm kind of jumping in, but I will narrate through what we're doing and how we actually get batting to be involved with this block as we quilt it, and then we'll get to our applique. So the first thing it does is stitch a placement line for my batting. That just means I need to have a piece of batting that will cover that whole entire square. So I often don't cut that batting piece, but I'll just go ahead and lay it over the top, and then it's going to stitch a square again, and then we're going to trim it down. So this is almost like the first part of an applique, where we're going to be tacking down our fabric, just happens to be batting in this case, and allow us to trim it down. You'll notice it'll actually go around this square 2 times. The next step is to trim the batting down to the stitching line. Now, this is one of the best parts about this machine. If you touch your needle up, needle down button right here, the machine will put the hoop in what is called a trim position. So pretty much it moves it so the needle will hang out in the top right corner, but look where the design is. It's right where we can kind of get to it and actually do the trimming without having to take the hoop off. Now, most of the time I can get through or around the designs. Now, if I have a very complex design with lots of little curves and crevices, I will definitely take the hoop off and put it in or on the table and then twist it around as I trim. The other thing is having nice sharp scissors. These are the Kai curved embroidery scissors that are 4 inches long. They're very sharp at those tips and work well for trimming applique. We'll put links below the YouTube video here if you're interested in finding my favorite embroidery scissors. While the hoop is pulled out, let's go ahead and put the background fabric in place. We can kind of see where it's going to be. And you don't have to touch the needle up, needle down button. It would return it to your stitching point. But let me just show you, if you just left it here, you placed your fabric over the batting and pushed the start button, it'll go ahead and bring that back into position and start stitching kind of all in one step. So as you get more comfortable with your machine, that is a great way to utilize the function buttons on the front. Next up, we're going to do the quilting of the background, and I'm going to put on white thread for this part. The joys of quilting with your embroidery machine. Quilting done. So we're about ready to start the applique part of this design. So applique is done in 3 parts. So we're going to start off with the part 1. Number 1, it's going to stitch a placement line. So there's a couple benefits of this placement line. Number 1, it allows you to pick scraps of fabric and know if it's going to actually fit or not. Now, I could just take a square of fabric and place it over this entire outline, but if I was trying to work with something a little bit smaller, or if I was going to actually be positioning an area of fabric like this one actually has some different colors, so I could even kind of position this to have a little bit more pink or green. I can see where that's all going to kind of be part of that design. So as long as I'm covered up. Now, it really doesn't matter which color of thread you use. Some people will just use whatever color the last thing that they were working with. Others will pick the color that they're going to finish the satin stitch with. So it really is up to you. For today, I had gone ahead and put in the color I'll be doing the satin stitch with, which is this lime green. A little easier to see when I go to trim it. And it's going to go around the butterfly, this time right on top of the placement line. I don't know why I'm holding it, but I tend to kind of just hold it in place. You don't have to spray it or fuse it on most of the time unless your pattern tells you to. But really just go ahead and hold it in place until it kind of gets tacked down. Now, after this is done, this will be one of those parts that's got a little bit more intricate trimming. I'm going to take the hoop off the machine to get all the way around that butterfly. Ooh, I like the way that pink is turning out. But you do notice it goes around 2 times to really secure that edge. Next, we're going to really want to trim close, and then that way you don't have any like little edges sticking out when it finishes up with the satin stitch, which is the 3rd part of our design. So that's just one thing. You always let it stitch your placement, let it show you where you put fabric. Next, put your fabric Of course, that could be anything from like a Minky or the vinyl or the glitter sheets, anything that you want to use there. And then the last part is the tack down after you've trimmed. Now remember, we can touch the needle up, needle down button. That would bring us to a trim position. And maybe the applique is something you can kind of work your hands around, but that might be one that I'm going to actually kind of find myself easier if I take the hoop off. But what we're trying to do is we're going to be coming in really close. Hold the fabric up, put your scissors down, make sure that the curved part really comes close to the base of your fabric, and then get into all those little crevices and cut away the fabric from the stitching. This next step is going to take about 9 minutes to stitch. That's what the machine says, and the MySewNet Monitor app. So this is going to go ahead and do all the detail down, in, and around the butterfly, and it will finish with that beautiful satin stitching around the edge. Since this is a longer section of stitching, it started off as 9 minutes and I'm down to 8-ish here. This is the MySewNet Monitor app that you can download for free onto any device, and it will alarm you or send you a message when you have a color change. So if you love to get things done while your machine is stitching, you can put this in your pocket, wander off, and then come back once it tells you that this color has been completed. It also will give us a message if we run out of bobbin, or we've finished, or for any reason the machine has stopped, maybe for a thread break. So it's a great way to be very efficient in your time. You can see that the color information and the stitch count is all there, and how much time remains, and how much of the percentage of the design has been stitched. So make sure you check that out and download that. Get it connected to your Wi-Fi if you're not already with your Husqvarna Viking Designer Epic 2, and set up your MySewNet account. I decided to stitch the body and the outside the same color, and wow, does that really show up. Now I do have a little trimming to do in between these. This wasn't planned for it to cut, so sometimes you do need to take your curved scissors and get in and trim out some of those jump stitches. So just note that applique is something that can totally be super easy, fast, and of course your color results can vary as easily as changing the fabric you use. So if you are interested in learning all my applique techniques, make sure you check out our Embroidery Essentials online course, where you'll find links below this YouTube video.